Morning, Kinsey.
Cristo, I wasn't kidding. I ordered a gold cone bra and one of those mics that comes out like this. I was ready for it. And then I got the email like 6 hours ago from Amazon saying it wouldn't be here for another 2 days. And I thought this was going to be the most magic moment between Cristo and I. He was going to fall in love with me.
I was.
And unfortunately, that's not going to happen now.
Well, Amazon, damn you. That is it. You have lost my custom now, Amazon, and you are going to suffer as a result of that. I'll tell you now. Jeff Bezos and he's probably got it. He's
wearing it right. He's probably thrown it on the cute little new fiance right now.
Exactly. She's probably wearing it now, and he's having the night of his life. You know, mind you, what you reminded me of now. My parents, bless them. They've got these these lovely dogs, and one Christmas I decided to dress Flo. Bless her heart, she's no longer with us, Flo, but I decided to dress her as Lady Gaga. I said she had like the sunglasses. I only put her in it for a minute for like a picture because I think actually dressing dogs in costumes for a long time I don't think is very nice. But she had the sunglasses and she had the microphone for Born This Way as well.
Yes.
A big fat bichon frise. So I'm in favour of that. Not that I am comparing you to a dog wearing a costume.
Well, you know, you've done worse, so I would forgive you. I put together some fun Madonna stories today, but I did want to start with some current events in case anybody that loves us wants some current events, to get their fix this weekend. Do you mind?
No, not at all, not in the slightest. Let's talk about Prince William, and we have a broadcast date for The Crown, right?
Yes, The Crown's coming out November 14th, part 1, December 16th, I believe, for part 2, unless I'm getting those backwards.
No, well, I don't think they're going to put part 2 out first, babes.
Wait, I said November part 1 and then December.
Yeah, but you said if you've got that backwards, then that would mean that you've got part 2 coming out.
I think maybe it's November 16th and December 14th. It might be
that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you meant. I thought you were saying they might put out part 2 first, which would be novel.
No, but you were roped into a Twitter discussion this week, an X discussion, Elon, I apologize, because I tweeted this story about how Diana's ghost appears in the final season of The Crown, and someone asked, what are they going to do? Hold a seance, which is not exactly how it comes to fruition. But Diana's ghost apparently does appear to both Prince Charles, who's now King Charles, but Prince Charles in the show, and Queen Elizabeth. She holds her hand. The ghost of Diana holds Queen Elizabeth's hand.
As ghosts?
As a ghost.
So Queen, does she appear to Queen Elizabeth as well as appear to Prince Charles?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And she thanks Charles for the way he cries in response to her dead body in the Paris hospital and calls him so handsome. I mean, it just sounds very bizarre, but someone tweeted, are they going to hold a seance? And I said, well, if The Crown's not, Cristo is. And you said 100%. And I laughed so hard because it reminded me of our podcast where you did basically hold a seance.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, and we'll do another one of those this week. We really must do. I have some time this week, so let's record another one because we've just put one out, right, of Majesty.
Yes. Yes.
But if anyone doesn't know, in one of our previous podcasts, when it's quite difficult to explain, but when Prince Harry in his book spoke about how he had used Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream on his private parts in order to soothe them after they had frostbite in anticipation of his brother's wedding, when he opened the Elizabeth Arden cream and started applying it to his todger, as he wrote in his book, and then we can say that the word todger, they're his words, he said that he was reminded of his mother because his mother used it.
No. He felt his mother in the room.
Yeah, he felt his mother's presence. He felt his mother's presence when he was applying Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream to his private parts. So I decided, in the interests of research, that I will apply Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream to my private parts during the podcast to find out whether they had any kind of soothing quality.
You didn't feel that way.
I didn't feel that way. I had to
Spoiler alert.
I had to get a wet wipe immediately, which is why I'm against them being banned, incidentally, because who knows when you might need one. But I have to be honest, Diana appeared to me. She did.
No, she did not.
She did. She appeared to me. I felt she was in the room with me when I did that, you know.
Are you a writer for The Crown? Because that's a terrible story.
Well, it's the one they're doing. I mean,
I know.
Is it disrespectful?
I think it borders on...
Not our podcast where I applied Elizabeth Arden cream to myself.
Clearly that is. Clearly that is. There's no question there. But when it comes to The Crown, I think we're more offended by it because we remember this. We remember how we felt when we lost her, and it was devastating. But according to the Daily Beast, Prince William is totally sickened by this plotline. They say that his friends have told the Daily Beast that he refuses to watch the new season of The Crown, that he's appalled by the idea. However, friends of King Charles and the Queen consort Camilla are totally not bothered by it. I mean, not necessarily the Diana storyline, but The Crown in general is something that they have digested and they're over it. This article in the Daily Beast goes on to talk about Queen Camilla at a charity event, joking about Emerald. Is it Emerald Fennell? Am I saying her name?
Emerald Fennell.
Fennell being in the same room there, in case something happened, her stand-in was there. So they're just unbothered by it. The source says that Prince William will not be watching, but he's sickened by it. And then you can't help but, be reminded that this, again, is Harry's employer. This is who puts money in Prince Harry's pockets.
Well, Lady Diana, the Diana Princess of Wales, she is no longer King Charles's wife. There is no longer really that connection other than her being the mother of his children, whereas she will always be William's mother, always. So you're right, he is always Prince William's mother. So always that connection is going to be there. And if you are to read this and hear about it on a serious note, I can see why William thinks that this is really scraping the barrel. Crass. But you're right, my question is, and you just touched on it, does this put Prince Harry's connection to Netflix under more scrutiny? Because, of course, Harry is now being paid by this network that is putting out The Crown. And I wonder as well whether the production team of The Crown, they actually feel that they can push the envelope a little further with The Crown now, because they almost have the endorsement of one of Diana's children. Maybe they feel that they can go a step further because they've got Harry in their pocket. Now, it's Harry is on Team Netflix.
Well, and he did endorse it. Remember, he told James Corden that he didn't have a problem with it because it was so fake. It's fake. He was just like, well, it's not real.
So do you think that the producers have said, well, you know what, let's just throw everything at this. Let's get those headlines with a Diana ghost scene, because look, Prince Harry is on board with it, so how can anyone now complain?
I think if we are being honest with ourselves, and we haven't really delved into this conversation too much, but seasons 1 and 2 were biblical. They were an absolute masterpiece. The last season I loved and watched multiple times was season 4, but it did feel like season 5 it didn't really connect with me.
And
and so I do feel like maybe we're getting overexcited about something that's going to be quite boring. Remember tampon on in season 5, boring. It was a blink and you'll miss it. So I do think we might be getting worked up over something that it's a blink and you'll miss it moment.
Which
but the idea of it in general.
I think the glorious seasons for me are 1 to 4. The Thatcher season with Gillian Anderson and Olivia Colman, brilliant. The season previously, but I thought the first 4 were absolutely great. But absolutely, season 5 for me just left me just uninspired, and I found it a little bit dull, and I didn't like the casting. Anyway, no one other than Elizabeth Debicki as Diana, who I thought was very good, but the rest of the casting just left me a bit cold. And just looking at some of the texts this morning, we still have Kinsey Schofield live from LA. And Wayne from Bury has said, you should have a nice tan next week, Cristo, because you need to turn up in a cagoule in case you get covered in orange powder from Just Stop Oil. I think that's a reference to Madonna's concert tonight, where Just Stop Oil, if I swear, the gays will attack. If Just Stop Oil attempt to take to the stage and disrupt the Madonna show, because they did it with Les Miserables, if they do it with the Madonna show, you will end up with 20,000 gays attacking. And that is not something I would like to do. They will be pumped up from the gym. They will be angry. They won't have eaten in weeks. They will be drunk. They will want Madonna, and they will be in attack mode. So Just Stop Oil, I would think on before I would take out any of those antics. Don't you agree, Kinsey?
And yeah, and you guys are all going to be hyped up on Red Bull, caffeine pills. It's going to be a good time.
I know, 20,000 angry gays. I wouldn't want to take them on. Well, actually... Depends how you mean. Anyway, so let's talk about the connections. You've done some great research this week, Kinsey. Let's. I don't like you lowering the tone like that, Kinsey. So let's try and get things a little bit more refined. And
okay.
I didn't realise there were so many connections between Madonna and Princess Diana.
Well, and I didn't put this down because I just remembered it, but Andrew Morton worked with both of them on books, which I think is interesting too. Andrew Morton wrote a book about Madonna, and he wrote Princess Diana. He wrote his most famous book is actually about Princess Diana. Then they worked secretly on that together.
Oh, well, see, I've never read the Madonna book by Andrew Morton. I've read the one by J. Randy Taraborelli, which he was the famous biographer of Diana Ross. He wrote Call Her Ms. Ross, which is the Diana Ross biography. The J. Randy Taraborelli one is brilliant about Madonna. I mean, she comes across as an absolute ruthless, man-using, complete word I won't use on the radio. And you just think, my God, I'm not surprised you made it because you were absolutely ruthless. Go on.
Now I've got to read that. That sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So Andrew Morton wrote a Madonna book, and he also obviously wrote Diana, Her True Story.
Right. And so he talked about how the reason that Madonna admired Princess Diana was because she always wanted to be a princess. And he speaks about how she transformed herself into royalty. But she was devastated when Princess Diana died. She talked to the Times about crying out, please God, let her live, and how she felt outraged and hopeless and really freaked out and wanted to blame the press. And remember, she did that amazing speech, I believe it was at the MTV Awards right after the death of Princess Diana. But she said that we all had blood on our hands because we were all purchasing those magazines and those newspapers, and we really fed that need for gossip about her. But she did say that she described Diana as brave and dignified while she exposed herself to the public. She said that she thought that it was interesting that Diana was so vulnerable and sometimes problematic. But my favorite story comes from James Whittaker. I don't know if you followed his royal commentary growing up over there, but he's just kind of a hoot. He's a character. And he says that Madonna was actually invited to that very famous White House dinner in 1985, where you had Clint Eastwood, you had John Travolta, you had
with Diana.
Yes. So Madonna was invited to that dinner, and Princess Diana desperately wanted her to be there because Diana loved, was like enamored with pop culture and kind of enamored with celebrity. So Nancy Reagan writes Madonna a letter and says, can you assure me that you won't wear something outrageous, that you won't dress outrageously? Madonna simply replies, no. And Nancy Reagan removes her from the guest list. Can you imagine?
You know, that was a silly move by Nancy Reagan, because I genuinely believe that Madonna would not turn up to the White House wearing, you know, a cone bra until she's told she can't. Until she's told she can't.
But I also think, was that a silly move by Madonna, not just to suck it up to be a part of one of the most famous in the 1980s, that is one of the most famous pop culture moments in American history.
Yes, but I think that she was so egotistical at that point. I mean, she's quite egotist now, but I think at that point she was so self-consumed and so believed the hype and was such a nightmare that she probably didn't even think beyond herself when she turned down that invite. That's what I would think.
If I ever had the privilege of talking to her, I would ask if she regrets that evening. However, she did meet Diana. She had about a 10-minute conversation with her, thanks to Fergie. Fergie invited Madonna to an event where she spoke to Diana. They both exchanged, kind of stories about how crazy the press can be. Madonna told Princess Diana she needed to grow skin as thick as an armadillo. And Madonna wanted Princess Diana to host the screening in London of Evita, which would have been amazing. That never came to fruition, but that was what Madonna had hoped. But so I love that
Madonna's working it constantly. You know, look, I want to be your friend. I want to give you some advice, but look, I've got this great premiere coming up for a movie I want to be a hit. Do you mind hosting it at Kensington Palace? Stick on some sausage rolls, a couple of pigs in blankets. Would you mind a bit of cheese on a stick? Would you mind, Di, doing that for me?
But Diana was into it because she liked Madonna too. I think she thought she was sexy and fierce and, very courageous. So she, kind of ate up that attention.
No, I don't doubt it. And of course, you say that Madonna wanted to be royalty. There's a really famous photograph, I'm not sure if you've seen, when they are at the castle where they got married, where Madonna and Guy Ritchie got married. And this was when Madonna sort of really calmed down and she moved to London. She became a very good wife. She actually entered, I think, one of her best creative periods as well. And there is a picture of them the night before the wedding when they arrive at the castle. I don't know whether it's the night before or the night after they got married. And Madonna is holding Rocco, and she's in like a beautiful, I think, camel coat, and she's got a hat on, and she's got a veil over her face, and they look like a prince and princess in a castle.
I have to look that up. I'm going to look that up as soon as we're done here. But because you brought that up, Earl Spencer, Princess Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, recently said on his own podcast, because he has a really, fancy historical podcast where they really delve into history, like some of his brilliant books. He said he received a phone call from Madonna around the time that she was going to marry Guy Ritchie, and that they wanted to get married around the area not the necessarily area, but she wanted to be married where Princess Diana was buried at Althorpe. Like, that's how much they like each other. That's where she wanted.
Well, so this was, of course, because she married Guy Ritchie in 2001. So Diana had gone at this point, had died. So she wanted to get married at Diana's grave.
I mean, the home, the estate, not necessarily that little island where Diana's buried on, but still Diana having a place in her heart, clearly still, that she's calling up Earl Spencer asking if that's where she could get married. Do I have time for one more story?
Yes, you do. You do.
Kind of related, not kind of related. I just thought it was really interesting. JFK Jr. desperately wanted both Madonna and Princess Diana on the cover of his magazine, George. He briefly dated Madonna. I don't know if you remember that. I believe that was in 1988. So he reached out to Madonna George was a huge deal for him. This was his magazine. He was going in this direction instead of going into politics. This was kind of his way of flirting with politics, having a political magazine, which didn't necessarily exist yet. He asks Madonna to dress as his mother after they've dated, to dress as his mother on the cover of George. And Madonna is, I mean, it would have been a brilliant picture, right? Can you imagine her with the Jackie O hair and the pink dress? Well, and also don't forget, she dressed up as Marilyn, his father's mistress, in her Material Girl video. And so to play both of those women.
So but Madonna turned it down, clearly.
Absolutely. And she was like ruthless about it. She's like, thanks, Johnny boy. I'm not going to do it. She was absolutely ruthless about it. And then he also asked Princess Diana to dress.
Just to jump in, was Jackie Kennedy still alive at this point? Onassis that she was by then.
Let me see what year it was, but he had this a really good idea to tell the truth about his mother. I doubt she was alive, if we're being honest, because I think she would have been living.
I've dated you, and I want you to dress as my dead mother. I mean, I could see why she thought it was a bit creepy.
He wanted her to sit on just a huge pile of books that had been written about Jackie O, and he wanted the truth about his mother to be inside, like a story about this, all of these are myths. This is the truth about my mom. And Madonna replies, "Dear Johnny boy, because she loved to mess with him," this says, "thanks for asking me to be your mother, but I'm afraid I could never do her justice. My eyebrows aren't thick enough for one."
That's a bit rude, because Madonna's got notoriously thick eyebrows. Madonna has got, one of the things that Madonna talks about from her past that she hates in photos is how thick and hideous her eyebrows are. So that is a diss.
Maybe she's being facetious, but they also wanted to put Princess Diana on the cover. JFK Jr. met with her in secret at the Carlisle in NYC, which is where Harry and Meghan sometimes stay. And she said absolutely no. I believe they wanted her to dress as George Washington, and they wanted her on the very first cover. And there was a legitimate back and forth, but Diana didn't want to do anything that might disrespect the monarchy at the time.
Wow. Well, I also think, my spidey sense tells me as well that the fact that article would have been Madonna dressed as Jackie, sat on a pile of books about Jackie on an article that was about the real Jackie. Why would Madonna do that? It's not even about her. It's not even about her. The way you would get Madonna on the cover is to sell her that half the magazine's going to be about her, and that it's all going to be about her, and it's going to be the truth about Madonna, and we'll get you, Madonna, to sit on a pile of books. So that's just bad celebrity talent management, if you ask me. But what do I know?
Who's gonna say no to JFK Jr.? Obviously, some very bold, brave women did, but I wouldn't.
No, I don't think there are many women that said no to JFK Jr., and fewer said no to his father. Listen, lovely to talk to you, Kinsey Schofield, as always. Thank you for switching days. I need my Kinsey hit, and we're glad that we got that in this morning.